Most businesses think that their main problem is a marketing problem. Not enough people know about them, right? And they think if they could just learn how to tell stories effectively, then all the other pieces would fall into place. But that's not true. It's not a storytelling problem, it's a story alignment problem. Their vision doesn't line up with their values, their branding doesn't have anything to do with the products they create, and all the stories around their department just aren't connected. They need a system. You need a system, what I call a narrative operating system. Luckily for you, that's exactly what we're going to talk about in today's episode. Welcome to the Storytelling Lab, where we break down the art and science of storytelling. My name is Bennett. I'm your host, and I'm a filmmaker and an author on a quest to understand how we can tell better stories so that we can do better work and make the world a better place. Each episode, I host one of the world's best storytellers to help you understand how to leverage storytelling to increase your sales, deepen your connections, and serve your audiences better. What's up, storytellers? Welcome back to the Storytelling Lab podcast. This is episode 210, and today we're going to teach you how to create an entire storytelling system in your business, internally and externally, vertically through every department, horizontally through everything that you create, an entire system that fuels your brand under one cohesive narrative. Now, we talked back in episode 206 about the difference in narrative and story, the way we use it here on the Storytelling Lab. Narrative is not just a pretentious word for story, it's a different word. It means the unified message. You can have lots of stories, but you have one singular narrative. And if you don't establish that thread that is woven through every part of your business, you will have disconnect. What we're trying to accomplish here with your branding is long-term, loyal engagement from your customers, from your clients, from your overall community. We're trying to create loyalty. We're trying to create advocacy. We're trying to create evangelists for your brand. All the great storytelling brands that do this understand how to communicate through stories, but more importantly, they understand how to build an entire business based on using stories in everything that you do. That's what we're going to talk about today, is how to establish that system. The problem I see so often is that we're operating in silos. Branding is telling one story, sales is telling another story, leadership is telling another story, and that is a major problem because your community will pick up on that. It will erode your trust, and you can't be creative and find your way out of it. It's not about creativity. It's about consistency in your messaging, understanding, and your people, your community, understanding what the value is that you deliver, the expectation that you've created in their minds, and the payoff for what you've promised them. This is what they're looking for. You can't just write some clever little tagline and work your way out of it if you don't do this work up front. And when you don't do this work up front, everybody's going to operate based on their default mode. So sales is going to lean on what has always worked for them. Leadership is going to, and management's going to lean on what has always worked for them, but that's not what you want, because then you're disjointed, you're disconnected. We are trying to find cohesion. And who does that? Your chief storytelling officer. This is what all these solo episodes this season are about. This is what the book that I am writing that is coming out in the spring is about. And this system, the narrative operating system, is exactly what you're going to need to ensure that you have this consistency in your story all through every part of your business. Okay, so I call this the narrative operating system because it's just like your computer. Your computer has a central system that coordinates all of the different software, all of the different apps that you have on your machine, right? And you can control that, how you want it to present itself, how you want them to work together and collaborate, et cetera, et cetera. It's the same thing with your stories. Remember, the narrative is the overall story, the brand narrative, the overall message that you're creating. Back in episode 206, I talked about it being like the musical Hamilton. And all the different songs, the different numbers are your stories. And so they are different lengths and different styles and different tempos and different tones and different purposes, but they all feel similar and connected back to that overall narrative. So you have to create a system just like your computer's operating system to coordinate all those stories to work together. Otherwise, they're just one at a time. They're just one-offs and they're not going to have the same effect. They won't have the long-term effect that we are looking for in your brand. This is why at the early part of your business, you establish this system, because then it makes everything easier going on. I see so many going forward. I see so many brands that try to build their product because, listen, I know it's tough when you're running out of capital and you're just trying to get something out there to the market and you're trying to let people know about it. And then they go try to add all of these things, your branding, afterwards. They try to add marketing and advertising afterwards. And that feels yucky. It feels pushy. It feels like it's contrived instead of authentic. When you build a story, an overall narrative with a system, this stuff happens organically. It happens authentically. And then it feels like you are pulling people into your story world to be a part of it and not jumping in front of them saying, hey, we created this thing. So you need to start it early in the process. Now, if you're sitting there thinking like, well, I've already had my business up for a while, like, is this going to work for me? Yes. A wise person once said, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. It's the same thing with your narrative operating system. It is not too late to employ this type of approach to storytelling, but the sooner you can do it, the sooner you can get to this cohesive narrative that people, your audience, your community understands and resonates with and identifies with and connects to in a way that they will be part of your story. That's what you're looking for. So the beautiful thing about this system is when you create it, as I said, it makes everything easier going forward because it cascades all the way down from your big picture vision, all the way down to your sales, to your recruiting, to all of the little daily activities that you do. But it starts at the very top, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. How do we run it through your vision, your mission, your branding, your product, your marketing, your advertising, all the way down to your sales? That's what a narrative operating system does. That way, the different people in your team don't have to think about what to say and how to say it. They already know because it's ingrained in your company's biology, in the blueprint, in your structure, in your bones. They know what to do because you've established how you show up in the world and how you tell stories to the world. One of the chief storytellers that I talked to in research for the book said that the CSO is not a communications role, which a lot of people think it is. It's an engagement role. That means you're engaging with all of your stakeholders, your investors, your recruits, your managers, your employees, your customers, of course, anybody that is in your sphere, your story world, your story universe. You are engaging with them and finding these touch points, listening to them, collaborating with them. This is what storytelling is about. In future episodes of the podcast, we're going to talk about each one of these stages, but I'm going to briefly touch on vision all the way down to sales and how it functions within your narrative operating system. First of all, your vision, I want to say, is not just a vision statement. That's what a lot of people think. They make a vision statement, they put it up in their conference room or hang it up on their landing page of their website, and they think their job is done. No. Your vision is the future story that you are hoping to create with the world, the change you want to see in the world. What is your true north? Okay? You cannot have multiple core values and ideas of what you're trying to change in the world. I'll give you an example. Patagonia's vision is we are in business to save our home planet. And why that's so important to keep it simple and singular like that is because you want every action that you do, down to the email that you send today, or the product that you create this year, or the campaign that you launch, any of the things that you do need to track back up to that vision. Is what I'm doing today helping us get closer to that future story? That is your overall vision. That's the reason you wake up in the morning, because I believe this about the world. I believe we can change people to believe this. I believe we can have this impact on the world. Yes, it's grand. Yes, it's aspirational, but it must be service-oriented. It must be focused on the transformation that you are offering to your people and to the world. Right under that is your mission. Again, it's not about a mission statement. It's about the idea in your head of what the mission is. And the mission, if we're looking at this from the filmmaker perspective or creating a television show, for example, the mission is like the plot. Okay, the vision is the emotional journey. That's what we're trying to, and the impact we're trying to have on the world. The mission is how you're going to get there. What are you actually going to do? This has to be something measurable. You have to understand, okay, yes, we're in business to save our home planet, but what are we trying to do in order to achieve that goal? Your mission can change. It can be your mission for this year, the next 5 years. You can even have a mission for this quarter or this month. Mission is any objective that you are going after, but the most important part is you have to understand how you're going to measure its success. Think about that like the physical journey of your story. Character A wants this goal, and they go on this journey, and they run into this obstacle, and they make this ally, and they learn this lesson, and then ultimately they achieve their goal, right? That is the plot. That's what I want you to think about. How are we going to get there? The next layer is your brand. This is how it feels. Again, if we're talking about a television show, it's the genre, it's the tone, it's the style. This is what it feels like to be a part of your story world, okay? Are you a brand that is funny or snarky? Are you a brand that is professional and serious? Are you a brand that is classic? Are you a brand that is modern? And branding, yes, is graphics and logos and designs, but it's also how you show up in the world. It's how you represent yourself, going after your mission and pursuing your vision. How are you going to do that? Because many people might have similar visions or similar missions, many companies, but they're not going to do it the way you do it. How does your group of people show up in the world? What does it feel like to be a part of that journey? What is the vibe? That's what your brand is. And it's really, really important, because when we're talking about connecting with people, your community, this is the tissue. This is what they're going to resonate with. Sure, people can understand we're in business to save our home planet, and I'm a conservationist too, but how you do it and the way it feels when you do it is what is really going to attract me as the consumer, as the customer, as the community member. So this is what you want to focus on, because this is the public representation of your values, your vision, and your mission. And when you have a narrative operating system, again, this is all cohesive. One thing easily leads to the next. Of course, when you have a brand, you have to have something to sell. At the end of the day, this is a business, not just a brand. So your product is the next level of that cascade from top to bottom in the narrative operating system. Your product has to be the living, breathing thing that you create in order to pursue the vision, in order to achieve the mission. And it has to be aligned with your brand, but more importantly, it has to be aligned with the story that you have told and promised your community. So when you're developing a product or any offering, whether it's the product or offer itself or the features of that product, you have to ask yourself, is this aligned with the story that we are telling, the story that we are co-writing with our people, with our customers, with our team members, with our overall community? Because it's really easy to get distracted and see what your competitor is doing and say, oh, should we be creating that? Think about how many AI solutions there are for turning podcasts or long form content into short little, reels, TikTok style videos. There's a million of them. I can't tell the difference between any of them. You probably feel the same way. This is what happens when we look at everybody else. We try to create something. We don't ask ourselves, is this aligned with the change we're trying to affect on the world? That is what a storytelling system does. What comes next after your product? You got to tell people about it. You can have the best product in the world, but if no one knows about it, my friend, it doesn't matter. You aren't going to sell. So you have to talk about it. You have to market it. You have to spend time out there in the public. And your marketing is not just about making noise and talking to people and trying to attract people and trying to force them to buy your product. It's, again, inviting them into your world. Your marketing should feel friendly to them. It should feel familiar to them. It should feel like what they're thinking. They should hear your messaging and be like, I didn't know anyone else felt that way. I feel seen. I feel heard. I feel understood. That's exactly what I was talking about yesterday. And it doesn't matter if it's digital, social, print, or live events, your packaging, your website, you going on podcasts and interviews, PR, press releases, whatever. Anything that you do where you're talking about the thing that you have created still has to ladder up all the way to that vision. And the way to do that ladder is your narrative operating system. Now, when you have created a brand, you've created a product, you've told the world about it, there comes a point where you have to ask. You have to ask. This is advertising. This is putting it out there and saying, hey, we have this. I think you want it. Would you like to get it? And this is like dating. This whole metaphor is like dating. Marketing is how you get the first date, right? And that could be your profile, the clever language you used on your profile, the pictures that you had, how you dressed, your hairdo, whatever. But branding is your soul. Branding is how you represent yourself. And so branding is how you get that second or third date and hopefully develop into a relationship. But at some point you have to say, hey, I kind of like you. Do you like me back? Check yes, no, or maybe. All right, this is advertising. The thing about advertising that we've hated traditionally is, again, we're jumping in front of people and pushing them, buy this, get this, download that. Nobody wants that anymore. We're bombarded with ads all day long. When you have a story system, a narrative operating system, it's easy. Negotiating is easy because you understood that this is co-authored, this is collaborative. So it's a win-win or even a win-win-win, right? This is how you make a relationship with someone. And when you have set up all of those other things through a storytelling system, the ask gets easy. And if it's not right for that person, it's not right. And you move on because what you're trying to find is your ideal customer that you can build a relationship with that is long lasting. A brand that uses a storytelling system like this is not after flash in the pan sales or one-time transactions. We're about transformation, long-term transformation. That is how you sustain. That is how you have longevity. That is how you are resilient as a brand because you have created real, meaningful, authentic relationships. You're not just about the transaction. You're about the transformation. So when you do that, advertising is just an ask. And if it's not aligned, and it doesn't work for both parties, you move on because then it's not right. And all of the work that you've done before tees you up to already be with the people who it's right for. Lastly, when you have created that relationship and you've made that ask, you have to cultivate that relationship. This is sales. This is getting them to say yes and walking them through hand in hand through the door of that transformation that you guaranteed. This is the payoff. You made the promise. This is the payoff. So this is a part of everything, and it's not icky. It can be when you're doing pushy advertising, but it's not when you have cultivated this relationship, when you have built this storytelling system that is rooted in authenticity, based on your vision and your values. The sales is just grabbing that person's hand and saying, hey, I got you. We're going to do this together. Again, when you have the system set in place, it becomes easy. Now, the last part of the system, which I didn't tell you about earlier, is crucial. This is what makes it a loop, an everlasting cycle, because times change, technology changes. Your brand must change too. You must adapt. You must evolve. You must grow. And because of that, your system has to be malleable and be able to adapt and adjust and grow and evolve along with your brand, along with the times. This is so important. The final layer of your system is feedback loops. Every storytelling brand that I spoke with that leads with a storytelling system has a process for collaborating with their people, their customers and their clients and their community. They listen as much as they talk and they tell. They work with people to understand what they need so that they can build better products. They listen to what they say so that they can make a stronger brand that is more resonant. They work together. So having feedback loops internally, yes, and externally are crucial to the entire system. And it doesn't really matter how frequently you revisit this, but you need to have that part of your system, whether it's quarterly, biannually, yearly, whatever, where you look at what we're doing. Are these messages that we're putting out aligned? Is this the right product? Are our people responding to it? What have we learned? What have they said? How can we improve? How can we go deeper in this relationship that we have built? You have to have input coming from the other side of this collaboration if you want to continue to grow and evolve as you must if you want to have longevity in your brand. When you have a narrative operating system in place, every decision made is easier because it's already aligned with the narrative. This is not just about being spontaneous. This is about creating a system that is scalable. You can only do this when you do the work to build an entire living, breathing, evolving system in your business. And the person to do this is the chief storytelling officer. And if you can't justify hiring someone for that single role, that's okay. Most businesses can't yet. But you should have someone dedicated to the responsibilities of that role. I've seen it be a content director. I've seen it be the CEO. I've seen it be a salesperson. It doesn't matter. It's the person who understands and embodies and lives your story. That's who should be your CSO. And here's what's so important about how they fit into and control the system. It's not about them dictating and directing everything. If they're in a meeting with the product team, they're not telling the engineers and developers and product managers what to do and what product to create. They're just making sure that the products and features created align back to the narrative. They are just a translator. So they deserve a seat at every department's table, but they aren't telling the chief marketing officer what to do. They're just ensuring that that narrative has consistency through all of the different ventricles and blood vessels that stem from the heart of your brand, which is your brand narrative. That's what they are there to do. They need to be talking with sales. They need to be talking with marketing. They need to be talking with leadership and HR, everybody. This is why it's so important to have someone accountable for this position or the roles that this position fulfills. This isn't some marketing gimmick. This is the heartbeat of your brand. I want you to, this week, think about your communication outwards. Think about your communication inwards, internally, and ask yourself, map them out, map your stories out, and ask yourself, like, are these aligned or do these feel disjointed and disconnected? This is what my upcoming book is about. It goes through this whole system and empowers you to be the chief storytelling officer. It gives you the guides. It's the handbook, the playbook, so that you can read this and immediately start to transform your business and your brand to living off of this kind of system. The next time we come back in a solo episode, I'm going to stick with vision a little bit closer, and we're going to go through this whole thing together, and I'm going to teach you this system. But please, you guys know me. If you have any questions, if this resonates with you, comment on the video. Send me an email. I'm very easy to find. You can send me an email anytime, rain@6secondstories. Let's talk about it. Ask questions, because this is something that's not new for someone like me who studies this daily. But by far, the mass majority of businesses don't know how to build this. They don't know how to have a person in place of this, but they're going to need it as we move forward into this age of AI and technology, where everybody is going to be able to create the same thing at the same pace for the same price. Your story, your unique story, your differentiator is going to be more important than ever before, and I am here to help. Let me know if you have any questions. In the meantime, stay tuned for future episodes of the Storytelling Lab about the CSO and the narrative operating system, and stay tuned for the launch of my new book, The Chief Storytelling Officer. Now get out there and start telling your stories, and even better, start creating your storytelling system. My name is Rain Bennett. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed that episode, do us a favor and subscribe to the podcast. If you're already a subscriber and you're enjoying the show, give us a review and let us know the value that you've gotten from it. We love to hear from our listeners and learn about the benefits that they're getting from the show. That's what fuels us, and that's what fuels the show. And if you've already subscribed and you've already reviewed it and you think there's someone else that would benefit from listening to this show, please share it with them. The more we grow, the more we can help you grow, and that's what we're here to do. Join us next time on the Storytelling Lab.